So basically, without this executive order, it's going to be easier to exploit labor, to homogenize our food supply, especially in agriculture. It's going to enable Amazon and other big tech bureaucrats to continue to monopolize even further and get whatever they want. All food costs about 17.3% more than they did in January of 22. That means a grocery bill that cost $100 back then would cost around $117.
Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup.
This is Ashley with Status Coup.
On the ground.
In Philadelphia.
Flint, Michigan. East Palestine, Ohio. Please support the leading independent news outlet on the ground.
Covering what the corporate media covers up.
What's up, everybody? Ron Placone here reporting for Status Coup. So recently, the Trump administration overturned an executive order by the Biden administration. And this executive order that the Biden administration had issued was a good executive order. And the overturning of this could lead to a number of things. Among them, it could make grocery prices even higher. We're going to unpack this a couple steps at a time. First of all, we're going to go through what the executive order is. We're going to go through the state of groceries, which, as y'all know, they're getting higher and higher, and we're going to break it down. And then we're going to revisit the Kroger Albertsons merger, as well as an update. For those of you who may be unfamiliar, we covered the Kroger Albertsons merger extensively here on Status Coup. We're going to summarize it some. We're not going to go through all of it, but if you're not familiar with that, you can check out all of our videos on the topic. We covered it in real time. The merger did not end up going through, but we got some updates. Okay, so first, what is the executive order itself? All right, so here's the statement on the revocation of the Biden-Harris executive order on competition. Today, the Department of Justice Antitrust Division salutes the president's decision to revoke Executive Order 14036. The division will use this opportunity to continue its work to recalibrate and modernize the federal approach to competition policy to suit the needs of our dynamic and innovative economy. America First Antitrust focuses on empowering the American people in the free markets, not enabling regulators and bureaucrats to prescribe outcomes. We are unleashing the new American golden age through antitrust enforcement that removes barriers to innovation and opportunity and limits regulatory burdens on free competition. So this is Orwellian speak. That's what this is. This is Orwellian speak that says the best antitrust enforcement is to not enforce anything at all. That's what they're saying. The best way we can enforce antitrust is through no enforcement whatsoever. Just let the free market do whatever they want, which the reason we need antitrust in the first place is because without it, monopolies happen. That's why we need antitrust, because without it, we just get monopolies and then it's terrible for everyone. They're saying that the best innovative way to have antitrust is to not enforce anything and just let people do whatever they want. Well, doesn't that lead to monopolies? Yeah, but we're not concerned about that. It's literally what they're saying. More Perfect Union summarizes the key parts. So this is the Biden executive order Trump just overturned. This is from the order itself. This order affirms that it is the policy of my administration, this is from the Biden order, to enforce the antitrust laws to combat the excessive concentration of industry, the abuses of market power, and the harmful effects of monopoly and monopsony, especially as these issues arise in labor markets, agricultural markets, internet platform industries, healthcare markets, including insurance, hospital, and prescription drug markets, repair markets, and United States markets directly affected by foreign cartel activity. So basically, without this executive order, it's going to be easier to exploit labor, to homogenize our food supply, especially in agriculture. It's going to enable Amazon and other big tech bureaucrats to continue to monopolize even further and get whatever they want. Keep in mind, half of all internet commerce already goes through Amazon. Healthcare markets. So it's going to allow pharmaceutical companies to continue to profiteer. It's going to allow them to hold recipes even more, to harbor patents even more than they already do. Of course, there's the other side to this too, where all the research and development is being gutted anyway by the eugenicist RFK, who's in charge of public health. So man, it's just whammies from all sides here. All sides here. It's just a big old whammy. But this could really, really increase grocery prices. So what's going on in the grocery market right now? Well, as we know, prices have been going up and up and up and up and up. Prices keep getting higher, and they're pointing to different factors. They were pointing to the supply chain issues caused by the pandemic. They were pointing to issues of, catastrophes, climate issues, the fires here in California, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so let's go and look at a tracker here from CBS. CBS price tracker shows how much food, gas, and utility and housing costs are rising. So this is from August 12th. So this is a fairly recent one. So here is all items, and here is food. So all food from about 2022 until now, food is up a little over 17%. All food costs about 17.3% more than they did in January of 22. That means a grocery bill that cost $100 back then would cost around $117. And here's some particulars. So that, in a short amount of time, is a very significant price increase. That's a lot in a short amount of time. And they're blaming all these factors. They blame inflation, they blame et cetera, et cetera. So what's really going on in the industry? Well, let's take a look at how much money the people at the top are making. So here's some market information. Grocery store industry. Here's the profit margins. Let's check it out. Here's in the quarters going back to 2024. So keep in mind, prices are rising. Okay, so the profit margin also pretty much rising. This most recent quarter, 22.77%. It was 21 in the first quarter, then a little higher in the last quarter of 2024. Then it was around the same. Then it was a little higher in quarter two of 2024. So it's hovering right around 22%. Those are the profit margins that they're getting in the overall grocery industry. Those profit margins sure as hell haven't gone on to help the workers. I can promise you that much. But those are the profit margins. Now, you might be saying, well, it seems a little consistent there from 2024 and 2025. Why, Ron, is it relevant to bring up those profit margins? Why is that so significant that grocery stores are making about, roughly 22% profit margin? I mean, this is capitalism. Obviously, grocery stores need to be profitable. So why is that significant? Here's why. You know what the usual profit margin is for grocery stores? Ready? 1 to 3%. I'll repeat that. 1 to 3%. Historically, that's the profit margin for grocery stores. Now, it is about 22%. So there is a new normal for the profit margins of grocery stores. And here, I'll explain why this is. How do grocery stores make money when their profit margins are so low? So grocery stores always complain of the business of incredibly thin margins. Sometimes they quote 2 or 3%. Overall, grocery stores' profit margins are roughly 1 to 3%. But those numbers don't tell the full story. There are other financial metrics to take into consideration. He gave this example. Let's say you buy a grocery store that costs $5 million. You purchase it if you're buying a home, 20% down payment, investing $1 million, borrowing the rest. So he added the rates of return. There's a profit percentage. Then there's a return on those sales, 1% in the example below. Then there's a return on the asset of 3%. And don't forget, grocery stores are selling a ton of items, especially produce. So we're only making 1% profit, but it's worth our while to be in this business because we make it up in volume. So in the too long, don't read scenario there, they're basically saying, yes, the profit margins of grocery stores are incredibly low, 1 to 3%, but it makes up for it because you do such a high volume. And guess what? Demand's always going to be there because people need food. You need food to live. If you don't eat, you die. That's an easy one. So even though the profit margins are very, very low, it's made up for by the volume. That's traditionally how grocery markets have worked. And guess what? They were profitable for the people at the top. It's not like the CEOs of grocery stores were doing charity. Far from it. Well, now they're making 22%. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to lock in that new normal because they're going to want more money for themselves and less for everybody else. They're going to try to lock in that new normal. Now, this gets back to what we did for the Kroger Albertsons merger. We covered the Kroger Albertsons merger very, very extensively here on Status Coup. I'm not going to go through the entire history of it because it would be way too long, but here's the cliff notes. Kroger and Albertsons were trying to merge during a time where grocery prices were rising. Why were they trying to do that? So they could basically lock in these high prices and make it the complete new normal, and prices would never go back down, and they would keep making, profit margins in the 20% instead of 1 to 3. They fortunately failed at that, largely because of Lina Khan and the FTC, but mainly Lina Khan really going to the mat to try to stop this. It went to the courts. There were a ton of appeals. Kroger and Albertsons eventually kind of turned on each other. The merge was stopped, at least temporarily, and now they're suing each other in court. Now, there's some speculation there that the whole Kroger Albertsons lawsuit was just kind of a failsafe, and it was just all part of the plan. Now, there's no evidence one way or another of this being the case, so I'm not going to make a claim. I'm just saying it's speculation that's out there. There could be a scenario where Kroger sues Albertsons. Albertsons says, we don't have those resources, so they go bankrupt, and then Kroger just kind of takes over their real estate because it's just up for grabs now, and that's how they end up getting what they want without doing the formal merger. So they kind of still get to merge without actually merging. That's speculation that's out there, and it's a possibility. Now, Ron, why are you mentioning this speculation? Because as you are acknowledging yourself, it is just speculation. Here's why. We just went through what happened with the Trump administration overturning this Biden executive order that went against monopolies. And that overturning this executive order is going to lay the ground for more grocery mergers and more grocery homogenization. We're also simultaneously, the profits are going up and up and up, and so are the prices. Interestingly enough, while all of this is going on, here's what happened between Kroger and Albertsons. This happened a couple days ago, around the same time that Trump overturned that merger. That Trump overturned that executive order. Kroger settles with C&S Wholesale after failed $25 billion Albertsons merger. So they settled. Kroger announced August 11th that it settled litigation with C&S Wholesale Grocers, which sued the Cincinnati-based supermarket giant in the wake of a failed $25 billion merger with Albertsons. The Keene, New Hampshire-based supplier and retailer was set to acquire nearly 600 divested stores from Kroger and Albertsons upon completion of the deal. C&S Wholesale claimed Kroger owed it a $125 million termination fee. Kroger said all claims are resolved. Terms of the settlement were confidential. So isn't it a bit odd that all of a sudden Trump overturns this executive order, grocery prices are rising, and now all of a sudden Kroger and Albertsons and all the companies involved, they're fine now. They're cool. By the way, the details of their agreement, we can't tell you that. That's some very, very odd timing. And I don't know if all those things aren't related. That is a heck of a coincidence. That's the coincidence of a lifetime. So this is very significant. This is very, very significant. And, we've been covering the Kroger Albertsons merger since it began. We covered the entire thing in real time here on Status Coup. We're going to continue to cover all of this now through the bigger picture that this executive order was overturned. This is huge because more and more people are becoming food insecure in the United States, meaning they have to choose between food or rent. They have to choose, do I pay my rent or do I get groceries because I can't do both? Or they're able to get some groceries, but not enough to stay full. And we're seeing more and more reports of that, where more and more Americans are saying, we don't have enough food to eat. It's not because the food isn't there. There's plenty of food. We don't have a supply problem. We have a distribution problem. There should be no food deserts in this country. There should be nobody going to bed hungry in this country. Yet it happens all the time. And I've said it once. I'll say it again. Be prepared for this. Be prepared. If you can, grow food. If you cannot, have friends who grow food. If you cannot do all of those things, any of those things, really know the anatomy of your farmers markets in your community. Know where the farms are. Know who the people are. Find out if there's ways you can, if you are able to, volunteer a couple hours in exchange for food. I guess technically you're not volunteering, but a work exchange. A lot of farms have those programs. There's a lot of consumer supported agriculture where you get shares of a farm directly from the farm itself. Look into all of that because this is happening. This isn't some scenario that might happen in the future if something's not done. No. It's already happening. It's been happening, and it keeps getting worse. And if nothing changes, we are going to see a significant amount of this country become food insecure. It's already happening. It's already increasing. So we will stay on this. And in the meantime, stay safe. Look out for each other because we are all we have, y'all. I know that sounds a bit like a cliche, but it is the truth. We are all we have. And I will say, not to be too doom and gloom, maybe you're thinking, Ron, that's a doom and gloom story. Can you brighten up my day with a little bit of indie comedy? You know what? It just so happens I can. My movie Left at Wall is out now, and here's some good news. You can watch it for free. Left at Wall is available on a bunch of platforms, including YouTube Movies, Apple TV. It's on Amazon. It's on Google Play. You can get it on DVD. It's on Xbox, but it's also on Tubi, and you can watch it for free on Tubi. So if you're thinking, man, I cannot even fathom another rental, especially just after watching this story about how grocery prices might get even worse, well, you can at least watch a fun indie comedy for free over on Tubi. Left at Wall on Tubi. Fun flick. Check it out. If you enjoy it, please do leave us a 10-star over on IMDb. Those rankings and reviews really, really help. It's much appreciated. But check it out. Left at Wall on Tubi. And this is Ron Placone for Status Coup, signing out.